Hello, my name is Valerie Lastly, and I am speaking from the heart. When we last spoke, I was telling you about the last violent encounter that I had with my ex-husband, and the last words he said to me at that time was, "Where is your God now?" After those words were spoken, I think I was a little bit shocked, but shocked enough to know that I had to do something different. Doing nothing was obviously not working. But I think at that same time I got a little angry because I had been praying to God to save me from this man, and God hadn't done that. But I have to say, at every opportunity that I had to leave, I went back. So maybe God had opened the door, but I kept closing it for whatever reason. But now I knew that something had to change. It was getting close to Christmas, and I knew I wasn't going to do anything before Christmas. But on Christmas Day, as I stood in my kitchen cooking dinner, the sound of that little red sports car came through the apartment. I heard it, and I knew my husband heard it as well. And when he heard it, he walked into the kitchen and spit in my face as I was cooking Christmas dinner. I don't think I've ever felt that low in my life. It is a terrible thing to have someone spit on you, but to spit in your face. I didn't get over that for a very long time. I think that was really the beginning of my putting something together to try to change my life. I started to pray a lot more than I had. I started reading my Bible as I used to. And as I gained strength from those Bible studies, I felt that something would happen. Not too long after that, after the first of the year, maybe February or March, I came home from work and there was an eviction notice on the door. I had only been working part-time. My husband had stopped paying bills. He had stopped giving me money to do anything that would do more than put a little food on the table. And I still wasn't quite sure of where his money was going. But when I saw that eviction notice, and I knew I did not have money to move, I had no place to go, I started praying constantly, without ceasing, for God to provide a place for my family. Somehow my husband put together enough money to put down a deposit on an apartment that was close by. But on the day that the sheriff was to set our things out, we still didn't know if we were going to get that apartment. The sheriff was supposed to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. The rental office didn't open until 9. But I promised God that if He provided a way for us to get that apartment, I would go back to church and I would never leave again. At 9 o'clock, when we went to the office to find out if we got the apartment, they told us yes. And I have kept my promise to God. This brings us up to where I started my story of my minister and elder coming to my home to talk to my husband. And he opened the door and asked them to leave. I kept going to church. I kept doing my Bible study. And I went out and got me a full-time job. I went back to the state employment office where I had worked previously. And I started putting plans into action. My husband would come home on payday sometimes and say, "They didn't pay us today. Checks didn't come." Finally dawned on me that his money was going to drugs. And I didn't know what to do about that. It's very hard. One of the hardest things to do when you are trying to leave a relationship is to have enough money to move. Sometimes that's a security deposit, first month's rent, and sometimes even last month's rent. And there was no way that I could do that and pay my current bills. It was Martin Luther King's birthday, 1988. A friend from work and I decided to stop off before we came home to celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday. I had called my kids to make sure that my oldest son knew that I wasn't going to come right home from work, and to watch for his brothers. And he said, okay. When I got home, my husband had come home on his lunch break again, probably just to see if I was there. He was standing in the parking lot when my girlfriend and I pulled up. He snatched me out of the car. He dragged me across the courtyard, and he threw me into our apartment. My girlfriend was terrified. She didn't know what to do. She immediately started calling the house to see if I was okay. He finally pulled the phone out of the wall so that nobody could call. He threw me into the shower and turned on the cold water. He said, "You're drunk. You're nothing but a drunk. You're a whore. You're no good." Turned on that cold water. I crawled out of the shower and started taking off my clothes. He hollered at me, "How can you stand up here taking off your clothes in front of your sons?" I said, "What difference does it make with what they see you do to me? It doesn't even matter anymore." He drew back his fist to hit me. My 14-year-old son stepped between us, and I knew that it was time. I walked back into the bathroom and yanked the rod out of the shower rod out of the wall, and I started to hit him with it. He started to bleed. He stopped dead in his tracks. "I can't believe you hit me. I can't believe you hit me. And I'm bleeding." And I looked at him and I said, "You will never do this to me again. It's over." He never touched me again. There was peace and silence in the house for the rest of the night. And the next day, when I went to work, I called the Spouse Abuse Center and began to make arrangements to leave him. But I knew I had to have some place to go where he could not get to me. They would not have an opening for 2 weeks. And so for 2 weeks, I planned what to do and how to do it. And in 2 weeks, I had my sister and my girlfriend to come to my home when he was at work. And we took everything that I could take at that time of mine and my son's. Some things were stored at my sister's, others I took to the center with me, and I left him. I went to the spouse abuse center where I could get help. And true to form, within 24 hours, he was calling, but he could not get to me. I didn't have to speak to him. I didn't have to see him. And I didn't. I took care of me. I was counseled about me, how I needed to heal, how I couldn't allow myself to be a victim anymore, and the things that have brought me to that point. I fought the fear, and I conquered it. I was there for 6 months. Did I go back to him? Stay tuned. This is Valerie Lassley, speaking from the heart. Thank you for allowing me to come into your home today. Do have a great day. Until we meet again.